everyone. Welcome back, I guess, to the Jurassic Cast podcast. It's been a while. With me today, as usual, is Jack. So hello, Jack.
As usual.
Yeah.
When did we do the last episode?
I don't know. We also got Ross here. Don't forget Ross.
Hello.
Hello, Ross.
Hello.
And as usual, this is the only as usual. Tim's asleep. So
Yeah.
Classic.
Well, Tim has to be asleep in this episode because he has no idea what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, he wouldn't have much to contribute, really, would he?
This is a reunion of sorts. We haven't done this in a long time. Although we should probably explain why we're doing this. Do you want to explain, Jack?
I mean, I'd say first and foremost, this is probably a reunion-spective.
Yeah. So we're recording this right now on the 1st of September 2021. I don't know why we didn't think to do this video sooner, but luckily, better late than never.
Better late than never, and earlier than never.
Yeah, and earlier than never. So we got invited to go see Jurassic World Dominion with a group of super fans, quote unquote, by Colin, to go to Pinewood Studios to go see an early cut of Jurassic World Dominion because he wanted to get like fan feedback. And it just so happened to be that like I sent him an email asking, if you do need eyes on this thing from a fan's perspective, and that I'm just down the road. And he actually took us up on that, and then he gave me some extra tickets. I invited you guys on. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Tim over because coronavirus is big. I don't even know if you listening to this in the future in 2022 if that's still a thing, but it was at the time of this, so Tim couldn't fly over in time. Plus it was like a week in advance. I think we knew we were going to go.
Yeah, it was pretty short notice. I think it was days. It wasn't even a week.
Yeah, I think it was like less than. It was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and we found out on like the Thursday or Friday. Something stupid like that.
Yeah, so like it was very, very last minute, and so yeah, we didn't know at first if we were seeing the whole movie or if we were just going to be watching the 5-minute preview that played in front of Fast and Furious 9, because there was a bit of confusion in the emails. But anyway, we got there and then we sat down in the cinema. Colin did a bit of a brief intro. He seemed quite a bit nervous, I think. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that, but I kind of got the sense that he was like, "Oh my god, I'm showing this."
Please like my film.
we were basically the first people to see, like the first people who were immediately not crew, like direct crew, to see an assembled cut of the film.
Yeah, exactly. And also like this is the one he's been wanting to make for years, and he's got a lot riding on it, and obviously with the film being delayed a year and all the horrible with coronavirus making the production awkward and stuff, like I think he just wanted to make sure it's a fun movie. But yeah, we sat down and we watched the entire movie, and so we figured we should give our early thoughts on it at this time, because
3 months later.
Yeah, 3 months later, but 9 months in advance of the actual film's release. So
yeah,
it still counts.
Yeah, so this video obviously.
Yeah, so anyone who thinks they're finally getting a new episode of the podcast is actually 9 months old.
yeah, it's 9 months old.
We're old news, guys.
Yeah. Hopefully we're all still alive in the future and everything's fine. But if not, here's a ghost to talk about Jurassic World Dominion.
Like I said before, if anything happens to one of us, this episode gets released.
Yeah, after COVID. After COVID-22, COVID-23, and Dominion finally gets released in 2025, you'll be hearing this.
And if any of us die in the interim, we've all got a dead switch to get it to go live.
Yeah.
But no.
Well, in the movie with our last thoughts.
Yeah. Well,
I'm thinking kind of like AI when the aliens come to Earth, but instead of it being the little, it's just this episode gets released.
It's like David sat in that little submarine thing under the ocean with the teddy bear. Instead of staring at the green angel from Pinocchio, it's just this episode of the Jurassic Cast podcast,
endlessly on loop.
It's that Ray Arnold toy, the one with all the sound clips in.
But yeah, I think we should probably mention first and foremost that like it's going to be interesting because this video, we're going to be going off memory for a film that we've seen once that was unfinished. It was probably about 80% there, maybe even 90% there. But obviously, I'm going to try and get this out publicly when the film has been out for a while, because I don't want to like have a spoiler video instantly out. So who knows what the final cut is actually going to be like. And it'll be interesting to see if there's any differences with what we talk about in this video than what's in the final cut.
Really different movie.
Yeah. So where do we want to begin?
I think it's the first. I mean, you just said obviously this is 3 months from memory. You know, this is the first for all of us time we've watched a brand new Jurassic movie under the circumstances of one, not seeing any kind of proper visuals, like not even a trailer. You know, even from before where we've seen kind of like advanced screenings or whatever. You know, there's been trailers, there's been marketing material, anything. Whereas this one, it was all literally, we had the perfect fan experience with it, I think, going in completely blind, not seeing anything. Although there was kind of like elements we knew, but
yeah, I was going to say that it was the perfect fan experience. Like, because I sat there when we were watching the movie, and all I kept thinking of was like, God, this is so like fresh. Like, because we haven't, as you said, no visuals, not seen anything. It's like, oh my God, like this is all candy for the eyes.
Trailer 80 times,
Yeah, but at the same time, because Colin had briefed us on what the film was going to be, or briefed me and Tim early on for the marketing way before COVID was a thing. He told us basically the plot, so we hadn't read a script or anything, but I knew like what was going to happen in the movie. And then when we were preparing for the marketing build up, obviously you guys under NDA and stuff, we told you what was going to be going down. And so that obviously we had that in our heads, but we didn't know if that was actually going to be in the movie because it was just word from Colin, and it was when they were writing it, and like what had made it into the script, what had made it into the film. But I was actually surprisingly close to pretty much everything that he said. So to me, that's a really good thing, because it means like they stuck to their guns.
I mean, that was when we had that conversation. That was like the end of 2018.
Yeah.
So, but then again, it was only that was the ideas that he had. It wasn't a finished script or anything like that. So he probably putted about with that for a year, end of 2019, and they went into production early 2020. So
it was just interesting because like how much he said. As we said, he stuck to his guns. And that's like the complete opposite to Jurassic Park 3. It's like you've got the third of this air quotes new trilogy and the old trilogy, and the third parts are like complete opposites to each other. Like the third one in Jurassic Park 3 is like an hour and a half long. This one's near 3 hours long. It's like double the length to make up for the half an hour missing from Jurassic Park 3. And the production of Jurassic Park 3 had basically clear seas to have a good production, and they had all these trips and hazards and rewrites and stuff, and then Dominion comes along and it has coronavirus that gets in the way and delays and all this stuff, and they still managed to plow through with the exact ideas that Colin waffled on about like 2 years in advance. It's fascinating. Like I'd say like a fascinating study of like franchise movies is somewhere buried in this saga, I say.
Yeah.
So the actual plot though. Oh.
Yeah. It's that was what I was going to say before we dive into it. Is it's hard. Obviously we had the no glimpse into it visually, but it's hard to, none of us have watched a Jurassic Park film once and then had to wait. We'll have to wait pretty much a year to watch it a second time to digest it. Because the knee-jerk reaction of any Jurassic Park fan is to see it at least 2 or 3 times when they first watch it. I think with Fallen Kingdom and all of them, it was watched at least 2 or 3 times within a week's period. For most.
Yeah.
I suppose you would get that kind of almost like a fatigue from watching it so many times in such a short space of time. Whereas this, you see it once, and then, like you say, it's a year until you see it again.
Honestly, like I'm dying to watch it again.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking mega.
Oh god, it was so much fun. Like more than anything, for any flaws that were in the movie, it was just so fun and a solid cap off for this saga. I think.
I think that's it. It just went back to just being, well, not went back to being fun, but it was just pure entertainment, pure fun. With like all the kind of usual stuff you'd expect from Jurassic, it had all the kind of the kind of science and the paleontology and everything, but it was just so much fun. That's just my enduring memory of it. Yeah, like that's the one thing I just remember about it. It was just exhilarating as a thrill ride from start to finish, and as cliche as that might be, I stand by that that kind of analysis of it.
Yeah, there was something you said there that brought something up in my mind, but that's just gone out of my ears, in one ear and out the other. Yeah, so okay, so the plot of this movie, like, what did you guys think of it? Because I remember when Colin was telling us, like, oh yeah, there's going to be like these, for one, let's go straight to it. There's these giant insects in the movie, and they're a really big driving force for the plot. I was like, this is so out of left field that I love what I'm hearing. And then watching it play out in the movie was just like everything I imagined it would be and more. And I was like, I just didn't expect insects to play such a big role in the final Jurassic movie, but it makes sense considering where the DNA of the dinosaurs come from.
Yeah, I remember when you said that when you mentioned about the grasshoppers, and I thought to myself, I was like, that sounds like one of those things you would read in like a kind of script, like a first or second draft of a script that never makes it to the screen. I was like, I get it, but I don't see that actually translating to the screen. And then, of course, you see the film, you're like, holy fuck, they are a huge part of the actual plot, and the kind of, they're almost like a driving force of the story, aren't they?
Yeah, because they're what bring
more so than the dinosaurs.
Yeah, because they're what bring Ellie and Grant into the story, like woven into the story. And this is a good starting point because it's right near the beginning of the movie. Is like, for me, like, this felt like, even though it's an ensemble of all the characters together, to me this felt like Ellie's movie. And so, like, with the or Ellie sequel, should I say? Because, like, obviously Lost World's Malcolm's, Jurassic Park 3's Grant's, Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom are Owen and Claire's. And Ellie, as one of the main three from the first film, she's never had her own like film, and they've toyed with that back when Jurassic Park 4 was, still up in the air. And then this film comes along, and like the storyline with these locusts being driven by Ellie, I was like, this feels like Ellie's movie. And I really appreciate that, because I was really worried what they were going to do with her character and stuff. But she's awesome in this movie, and her and Grant and Malcolm are just on point from start to finish. And the fact that she's like using her science to like try and work out what's going on with these locusts, why they're eating certain crops and not others, and and that they're biasing genetically engineered creatures. I just loved all of that. I was like, this is great, and it's like nice to finally give Ellie a movie, but it didn't always feel like her movie, because they have the ensemble towards the end, and obviously we cut back from like the main three from the original film to Owen and Claire's story. And I just thought the way they balanced all the characters were really, really good. Except for one that I have a gripe with, but we can get to gripes later on.
I mean, yeah, it did feel like, because people were worried, like, oh, are they just going to be a shoe-in and whatnot, the classic characters and that. But it did actually feel very 50-50 with them, old and new, until they mushed together.
Well, it's just like,
and made Station.
It was just nice that Station. Oh, by the way, I watched Bill and Ted 3 not too long ago. Loved it, every minute of it.
Yeah, it's great.
So much fun.
Yes, it's a classic Jurassic Cast podcast now, where let me go deep into details and then tangent on something irrelevant.
Let me just change the logo to the Bill and Ted podcast.
Yes, do it.
What was it? There was something else I was going to say about Ellie, but it's completely gone out of my ear.
I agree.
I'm just trying to remember from memory.
It does feel like this is a lot of it is driven by her kind of her story and getting everyone together because of what's going on with her.
Well, she goes to get Grant, doesn't she? And that ties those two into the story. But obviously they're trying to suss out Biosyn, and then Malcolm's already there working with Biosyn to begin with. But he tries to be a whistleblower to. Yeah, he's basically working with Biosyn to work against them. He's like almost the Nedry of Biosyn.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, he's like playing their game, but and sucking up
Checkmate,
to them.
motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been a great line if he said that. Yeah,
just completely out of the blue.
My favorite line of his. My favorite line of his in the movie is stuck with me.
Oh, when he fires him.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, this was a cushy gig."
Yeah. He's like, oh,
just to hear Malcolm say, "Cushy gig." I just love it.
So great.
But like the other thing that surprised me, that's what I was going to say. Like between the dichotomy of like Owen and Claire, like the new group of characters with the old characters, is like the way that what surprised me most was that Owen and Claire's characters' storyline felt more serious than the original trio's storyline. Like they were more jokey and jovial, the original cast, because I kind of feel like because most of their trauma and past events have like long gone for the most part. Like they've seen the world unfold around them. They're like been in open park and stuff, and they're like, well, and they're sort of like getting on, and they're not letting it get to them as much as they were affected by it in the past, like in the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. But for Owen and Claire, obviously everything's still really new. So and they're dealing with this cloned girl, so she's their storyline is more serious, and I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be the opposite way around, and it was just nice to see that. And I wonder how that's going to play out when the film's released with like fans.
I mean, I think again, you have that classic trope with the Jurassic series, which is like the kind of the family kind of story. And in this, it's like you have, it's probably, you have like the kind of young parents, and then the grandparents have been through it all before, and they kind of, I don't know, that's the kind of dynamic that I felt was being brought across in this one. Obviously, that's like a recurrent theme throughout all of the films, and in this one, that's what it felt like to me.
It's funny you say that. I didn't even think of
young
that.
Parents and that, and then and then you got like Ellie, Grant, and Malcolm, and they're just they're kind of, they've seen it all before. This is all like old hat to them, like. But at the same time, obviously having new stuff happen to them. But that was just what I felt, sort of about the dynamic when all of them get brought together in the same place and time and everything.
Yeah, what did you guys think to like the timing of that? Because part of me was thinking like, when are they going to get all together? Like this is taking ages, and obviously they don't all really get together till like almost the third act of the movie where they're all together. Aside from Maisie, who mixes with Grant and Ellie quite early on in the story. What did you guys think to that? Because a part of me was like a little bit like, I wish they'd got together, mixed them up a bit earlier, but then I kind of liked how it all played out in the end.
Yeah, there's nothing like a bit of trauma to bring everyone together, like put them all into their backs are against the wall, and they all kind of, come together at that point, so they all rely on each other. I thought it was pretty cool, I mean, you could have had it any other way, but that was the way they did it, and it worked pretty well for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame that all of that stuff, recent to this recording, they had the CinemaCon, and a lot of stuff was shown and leaked, but misleaked. I don't know, like some reporter spilled the beans on what they saw and that, and they're just looking at the list and that, it's just like, fucking hell, one, they don't know they're dinosaurs, two, like, I don't know what, they must have been as high as a kite or something when they were watching it, because it was just like, wow. And seeing all the fans getting super hyped over it.
Are they
going to be disappointed? Or
the thing about this cinema con like showing, which was quite recent, as you mentioned, the thing that annoyed me about that was like Colin and the crew, everyone sent them emails and messages and tweets and God knows what else, telling them how like annoying the Fallen Kingdom marketing was. Not our marketing, but the trailers and stuff, because the trailers spoiled a lot too much of the movie. And now they're like just revealing stuff, like they're showing footage to people and then saying that like, oh yeah, you're allowed to like just say what you saw. And so to me that's kind of worse, because it's like you're letting them explain stuff, but then the silver lining to that is they do get it wrong, so the fans aren't getting the actual full picture, but it pisses the fans off at the same time, because they're like, well, where the hell are we not seeing this footage? So
and I suppose as well, like if they get the wrong end of the stick or someone tells it incorrectly, then they get all pissed off, and
they build a different film in their head.
Well, exactly, that's it.
It's like this whole like article that came out that said like Grant and all the ensemble are all seeing the T-Rex they meet the original T-Rex. It's like, okay, well, yeah, in the final film they do meet the original T-Rex, but that's during a fight at the end, and also it's the
not all of them
Giganotosaurus
come face to face with it, is it? They're just amidst that final battle. So
yeah,
it's the Giganotosaurus. And they said about, so again, this is when I was reading it, and I was like, it's been almost 3 months since we see it. Is my memory dying off me? Because they said about, is it Grant? I see someone said that Grant's waving a flare, but then it said a character's waving a flare. But then they referring to Malcolm when he's got the big tree fire, like the big tree branch with the flame.
It might be like, if see, this is memory. It might be there's a close-up shot of Malcolm's face and his arms are waving, and you can see the glow of the light on him, but you can't see that it's like a flaming branch. So unless it, like, for whatever reason CGI'd that to be a flare, just completely changed the context of it. Like he pulls a flare out now rather than,
or just randomly Grant's holding a flare.
Yeah,
he's got the college students in or whatever they are at his dig site.
Yeah, but okay, so
that's great.
Yeah, okay, go to the dig site. Like, I want to, like, bring this back to the beginning because we've sort of been jumping all over the place. So the film we watched starts off with the T-Rex instantly being chased by the helicopter. There's no previously 65 million years ago sequence, which I told you guys was in the movie, and then we watched it and it wasn't in there. And I don't know if you guys have seen that
seen the dodgy copy.
The cam version, yeah. I've got a copy of that if you want to watch it, Ross, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I'll show you that after this. It's freaking awesome.
It's awesome, but I think the edit that we watched is tighter.
Well, here's the thing, right? So one of the things I said to Colin, and this is obviously all, I don't know what the final cut's going to be like, so maybe this will need to be trimmed out. But I said to Colin that, like, you know, without having the scene set in the Cretaceous period or whatever that shows the Giganotosaurus killing the T-Rex, the Giganotosaurus doesn't really do anything in the movie. Like, it steals a deer off a T-Rex, looks menacing, attacks the characters, but doesn't eat anyone, doesn't kill any other dinosaurs. He just scavenges one deer off the T-Rex and then gets impaled by the Therizinosaurus, and it's like, that's it. It's like, that's your new big bad dinosaur. It's like, it's not very intimidating. Like, for the Spinosaurus, for all its faults, that Spinosaurus... At
least it ate Cooper.
Well, it ate Cooper and Nash in the first 2 minutes of seeing it, like, and it destroyed the planet. Like, you knew that thing meant business. And it killed the T-Rex. So you knew that thing meant business. But the Giganotosaurus was kind of a bit of a...
What we don't know now is Colin CGI in out the deer and replacing it with Cooper.
Yeah, and then there's like a little thing on, like, Cooper's holding a sign saying, like, work this one out, super fans. Like,
when Ellie and Grant are flying over, you know, in the chopper, Grant looks out the window. That's Cooper.
That's Cooper. But no, it's like, yeah, so like I think the opening, because the film's so long as well, I think the opening, hopefully it does have that in there, at least to some degree, because it's a nice, if you watch it, it's like this nice build up. It's like an overture to then the story that you see. Like, it's like this intro, and you see dinosaurs back in how they were, even though obviously a lot of it's scientifically inaccurate, but it's like, it's all just like this nice, like, you're seeing dinosaurs in their natural habitat, and some of the CGI and the way they act in that is just phenomenal. Like, it's so good. And then you do see the Giganotosaurus do something that, like, proves it as, like, okay, that thing's dangerous. But so I think I missed it in the movie. I do hope it's in the final cut, but it's not like, I do hope it's in the final cut just for the Giganotosaurus. That's all I care about. Like, if it's not in there, then okay, fair enough. Like. But,
can you remind me of the opening scene? Because I can't fucking remember it.
Well, in the movie we saw, it's
the drive-through.
It's the T-Rex is, like, rampaging through the drive-through, and, like, it's like instantly, like, the US Fish and Game are, like, hunting it down in the helicopter, and then
I can't. I'm really struggling to remember. The cinema. That's it. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
it's in the drive-through cinema, and then once it walks out of the cinema, we cut to, like, footage of dinosaurs all around the world, and then you hear what's his face, who's playing Dodson, give the who we thought was Colin Trevorrow, but it's actually the guy who plays Dodson.
That was definitely not the final audio that we were hearing. That was recorded on his phone.
Yeah.
while he's walking to the corner shop or something.
Yeah. But we all thought it was Colin, and I even said that to him. I was like, "Colin, did you do that?" And he was like, "No, that was the guy who played." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Said it to him.
My favourite part of that montage, though, was the London sort of like phone shop, and they like raid it, and they got the fucking little dimorphodons in the cage.
Yeah, it's so good.
Was
the ladies coming out being arrested.
And that was it was just like a scene from like them police shows you see on TV.
Police camera action.
But I think for us, that was what it. I'm sure like a lot of the American audience had this with certain scenes, especially on like the Battle of Big Rock scenarios. And not scenarios, shall I say, these little shorts at the end of Battle of Big Rock. But for us, that's local to us, and that made it kind of the Jurassic. Real. That gave the Jurassic World feel for us, because it's like we could walk down the street and see something like that.
It was super.
It's our environment.
Really, it's not even just the environment though. Like the way it was shot was like you're watching it like on the news. Like the camera's really shaky. Like, oh my god, look what they've got out of this shot. Like someone's filming it. Very, very good, and you also see that Battle of Big Rock scene from an alternate angle.
Oh
like someone's filming it.
From that guy, isn't it? The one it was in the trailer opposite.
I think it's a different trailer. I think to that guy, but yeah, it's someone there like just filming it, and it's just nice to see. But we go from that to then I believe. Oh god, we go from that to Owen chasing like on horseback, chasing down the Parasaurolophus.
Yeah, and then you get the poaching scene, isn't it?
Yeah, which it's going to be interesting because
especially after that recent thing with the game Evolution 2.
Yeah, where you can like sell your dinosaurs to poachers for money, but your park rating goes down. And, like all the controversy that's created in the fandom over the past week, and it's like in the movie, like Owen gives a poacher like a Parasaurolophus because like there's nothing they
just
can do.
Doesn't want to get his ass kicked. So.
Yeah, well, there's also a legal reason I think, like they have jurisdiction or like there's some sort of hunting rights or something. I can't remember now. It's memory, but I really love that scene.
Can't remember.
I really love that scene. I think there's going to be some backlash from fans if they keep... Because there was a leak of like a Parasaurolophus render recently, and it was that one from the scene where they're in the snow, and they don't look like any other Parasaurolophus we've ever seen. And,
the scene before that is Claire and... Justice Smith.
Yeah, with the lemon...
with the night raid,
Yeah, okay, yeah. And then you get the whole herbivores smashing up cars.
That was cool, though, that when they're on the escape and they're going through the field and they're all fucking, like, dodging them and that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I think people probably be a little bit ticked off. That's basically, at least Zia's Tim and Lex in the Lost World moment, isn't it? Literally in it for about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But,
I like that their characters, like, they didn't play them up too much. They were very grounded, and that's what I mean by like the whole Owen Claire side of the storyline was way more serious than the other one, like because they were all very like downer and because they're everything's still fresh to them, and I just really like that. But yeah, no, then we go to Owen and the Parasaurolophus and all that. So
I think they got away with putting her in it, and Franklin, who plays a little bit of a part later on as well, and Barry. But, I think if they would have included, what is his name? My memory's got shit today.
Wait, who are you trying to remember?
Lowry,
yeah.
Lowry, that's the one, yeah. I think if they would have put him in it, he would have been very shooting, maybe. Like, he would have felt very
he was meant to be in the movie, and I assume he was meant to be in the scene that Franklin filmed where he's like at a new job.
Oh, like the computer. Yeah, but Franklin was a computer nerd as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, yeah. But I feel like they may have retweaked his lines because he mentioned something like he's going to take up a new job, and then he goes to that, and I feel like that was meant to be like he's working with Zia still, and they never mention it, and then we cut to Lowry because Claire calls him up. I feel like that's where it's meant to be. But yeah, just going back to these Parasaurolophus, like I'm noticing lots of fans saying like that they're going to be like Biosyn clones and stuff, and I'm like, in the movie, if it stands how it is the way we saw it, Like they're just
Grinded
parasol
down
office
bones.
out in the open that just look like no other parasol office we've ever seen before, and it's just like they never answer it.
They're
And
not going to be clones. They're going to be grounded down bones.
yeah, but like I was watching a Star Trek 6 review yesterday, and there's this bit where they were talking about the Klingons throughout the Star Trek franchise. They were like, oh, in the original series they didn't have those ridge heads, and then in this series they did, and then someone goes, yeah, but in Enterprise they made an episode where they answered like their genetic codes, and then one guy's just like, if it doesn't matter to the plot, it doesn't matter what they look like, if they have ridges or not, as long as you know they're Klingons. I was just like, that's where I'm at with my like mindset. Like I was watching this Dominion, and I saw these new Parasol Office, and my instant like nerdism went, where the hell did they come from? And then I just went, I don't care. Just watching this guy riding on horseback chasing down these dinosaurs, I was like, when am I going to see like stuff like this? Like this is awesome. This is kick ass.
It could,
Looks
It could
like
be
a
any
parasol
clones.
office. If it sounds like a parasol office, it's a fucking parasol office.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think we go from there to Grant's dig site. I could be wrong, or there could be like a bit with them and Maisie in the hut, a little bit between then, where Maisie's like all moody because she's I can't
does
remember.
the parasol thing happen before?
Oh no,
or
no!
after?
Then it'll go to the locust moment, won't it? Right?
Oh yeah, the yeah, I loved about that, and I do like about like Elliot Grant's sort of dynamic in the film as well. Is they're very Mulder and Scully,
Mm.
and that was the locust, the whole locust thing as well reminded me of a plot of the X-Files. So pretty much what happened with one of the movies, bees or wasps, but yeah, it was.
Colin Trevorrow got it. He was sitting there racking his brain, like, "Well, what am I going to write for Jurassic Park 6?"
And then the X-Files film comes on.
X-Files film comes on TV, and he's like, on ITV2, and he's sitting there because he's like in the UK, and he's watching. And he's like, "All right, yeah, I'll do that."
I wonder if we can get David Duchovny in. Yeah,
You're right though. Like the whole investigation side of Alan and Ellie is like heavily played up in the first film. It's hinted at in the third film a little bit when she's like, tell me about the sounds they made and all this sort of stuff, and they're talking over the dinner table, but it doesn't really go anywhere else than that. And then in this one it's like doubled down on even more, and I think that's probably one of my favorite aspects of the actual story of this movie is their investigation of these bugs and going to Biosyn and like just the whole scene, like not to skip too far ahead, but like when they're going into that like locust room and they're in those like biohazard suits and stuff, and I was like, this just looks like it's out of Michael Crichton's Andromeda Strain or something. Like it's so sci-fi looking and so like out of left field for like a Jurassic movie that I just love everything I'm seeing here because it's not
with the little tube train things as well. You're like, this
the
is like
Hyperloop thing, yeah.
This is like something out of fucking Space 1999.
I loved all that because
retro
it's like,
future.
Because to me that makes like
it touched on like the biosecurity element that we've never really seen that much before.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I think back to like, okay, I think back to the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. Not to harp on Jurassic Park 3 too much, but like you watch Lost World and you're like, yeah, it's a great movie. You got this simple like Malcolm wants to go rescue his girlfriend and they get tied up in this like hunter-gatherer thing, and it's kind of an obvious storyline to go down when you're dealing with animals as like the main thing in the plot. And then Jurassic Park 3 is just a fucking rescue movie, and it's like, oh, okay, like, all right, we're just going to this island and run around from dinosaurs for a little bit. And then since the new films come along, it's like, okay, we're just going to completely start fresh. There's our open theme park, and then all that follows from there. This film was the one, like, out of all the sequels that I'm like, this is engaging me more on a storytelling level than any of the other sequels, I think, in terms of like the sci-fi element to it, and also not only that, the world building with dinosaurs everywhere and the black market set. Like, there's just so much to chew over in terms of the visuals and the what if scenarios and that I was just like, every single minute I was loving it.
Yeah, 1 and 2 and World and Fallen Kingdom, there's a very loose correlation sort of with them, like the park, the first one and Jurassic World, the opening of the preview opening of a park and the opening of a park. The second one, technically a rescue / gathering mission. And in the second one, you had that. But then I think the post-island stuff in Fallen Kingdom laid the groundwork for this film in just taking the series somewhere completely new.
Yeah, it's so needed.
This one's like, you've had it, you're out in the open with these creatures. This one is you're trapped in a lab, or at least in a confined area with these creatures, sort of thing.
They still managed to do that isolation plot line in this with the whole biosyn preserve.
Yeah.
But the way they did it was different. It was like it's in this bowl and they're researching them there, and
so they're still confined, because you get that whole bit where all of the kind of personnel are evacuating, and that really gave me like serious Alien vibes. Where like, I don't know what it is, but growing up, like Alien and Jurassic Park, those two series went hand in hand. Mm-hmm. So seeing something like the mass evacuation of all the personnel, those like the little monorail car things basically feeling like escape pods, that sort of like sci-fi element that is almost like really far future sci-fi tropes being in of Jurassic. It was like why is it taking this long to see this sort of thing happen? Like, I don't know.
It's Crichton, that's the thing. It's like I'm with you. Like Alien and Jurassic have always gone hand in hand in my head. Alien's always been like the adult Jurassic Park to me. Like that's the one that like deals with sort of more darker stuff and that. But they feel like they're almost telling like a very similar sort of story in terms of like the Frankenstein-ness of like these creatures that shouldn't exist and all that sort of stuff.
Russ, when they're evacuating, they should have got the guy from Alien Resurrection. It's like, get out of here now! What's his name?
General Perez.
Oh my god, I knew the film was missing.
Dilophosaurus bites the back of his head and he goes cross-eyed and pulls a bit of his brain out.
When Grant and Elio are trying to break into that little lab, they got to fucking breathe on the
Oh my god, yes.
Thank God they didn't have anything like that.
Oh, I'd have loved it if they did. That'd have been so great. You have to provide a DNA sample to open the door.
What DNA sample have we got?
Any DNA.
We got to provide from Wu. Oh, here we go.
Wu's DNA is like the master. He unlocks everything.
Yeah, Woo goo. Anyway, enough about Woo goo. Get on a tangent of that. I think anyone listening to that bit will like kind of suss out what we're trying to say with that. But I'm trying to like remember the plot in chronological order, and what I like about what I'm struggling with is that it's all mixed up, and I'm like, okay, well, when did this bit happen? Like, so I'm thinking of the Malta scene, like the whole Malta sequence.
Oh god, yeah, it feels like two films put together. It really does, and that in a good way.
Yeah, in a really good way. I did mention to Colin that, like, I said to him, I was like, the film felt long. I was like, but a good kind of long. Like, I was like glad that it was long. Like, rather than this feels really long, I want it to end. This was like, this is feeling really long, and I'm loving every minute of it. Like, I don't want it to end. So
it's like, I had a similar sort of feeling with like what is it, the newest Avengers film. I was like, it was nice to see a film that doesn't care that it's taken the time to tell the story properly.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole like Malta sequence was huge, in not just in scope, but like huge as in like it was a massive sequence. It felt like the climax of a movie in itself, but like it wasn't even like halfway through the movie, I don't think. And I don't even know where to begin with that, because that was the scene where it was like, I don't know, where do I even begin? Like, it felt like a Bourne movie.
Yeah, they're like when they're jumping from rooftop to rooftop and all of that, and fucking having fist fights and all that. That scene, for me, that was the only. There's a couple of, because we were asked at the end, weren't we?
That's where like most of my gripes were.
Yeah. There was two bits that took me out of the film, or one did, but that kind of made me realise that we were in a sort of like an early screening. The first one was the ridiculous green screen shot, where Owen and Barry are sitting on the ledge, and then all of a sudden it's like something from an old Hitchcock film, how bad the blue screen was. But I was thinking that was maybe just like a little pickup shot, and with Corona they couldn't go and reshoot it, so it was just a filler shot until they could, or actually get some time to spend on the actual special effects for it. But it was like badly
I think you
like,
nailed it.
blue
I think
screen.
that is what it is. They've like done a pickup shot, like of
Yeah,
Pinewood
they just
or
never
something.
had the. It was probably the shot they had, and then like Colin, like in the while they're doing the first edit, were like, "Fuck, we just need one more bit there. Put that in, but we'll just fix the effects later."
By the
You know,
way,
like,
have I told you guys, just to go on a bit of a tangent, because one of the notes we gave back to Colin was like that they're all talking in their ears like secret agents, but
yeah,
we
that was my
haven't.
point, wasn't it?
Yep. Colin said they shot a scene, like a 17-second long shot of Barry dishing out tiny little ear mics, and they all put them in. And I said to Colin, add it in the movie. Add it in the movie because it makes all the difference to see them put them in, so you're not wondering like how are they talking to each other. And so hopefully, by the time this video comes out, people will know if that's in the movie or not. But if it's not,
and I saved the
you're
film.
hearing it here first. That like I
Yeah.
did say to Colin, put it in the movie.
Yeah, there's two shots
exist.
where I was like, these need to be put in to save the movie. The first one, obviously, you said that, but I didn't know that shot existed. None of us did until you told it. But I was just sitting there and I was like, because you see Claire and Owen talking to each other through the headsets, but no indication that Barry's got one in.
Yeah.
And then Claire calls for Owen's help. And Barry's standing like the other side, like at least 10 feet away from him. And he goes, Barry looks at him, doesn't he? He goes, go. Or it's like, I'll deal with this or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how the fuck did Barry know what she said when Owen and Clara got earpieces in, like talking to each other? But then, as you said, you would never know unless this scene's added in that Barry's got an earpiece in as well.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully Colin will add that in. I did make a good case for it because I was like, I brought up the Avengers movie. I said, like, in the Avengers movies, they start off with, like, big earpieces. Like, if you watch the original, like, from start to finish. But by the time we're into the modern movies, they're all just, like, talking and then cut to a different shot and you don't see anything. And it's like, obviously, we assume there's, like, tiny little ear mics or something. But to actually have the context is key because in those Marvel movies it's fine, it's superhero stuff, but in Jurassic it's kind of like you kind of need to see that to have the tangible, like, this is what they're doing, especially when you're introducing like this spy mission scene that has never really been done before in the series. Hopefully that's in the final cut and also it'd just be interesting to see that in there. But like, was the other thing that took you out, Sam, the woman walking away? Is that what you were going to?
Oh yeah, it was a really I don't want to say bad, but it was. There's like a standoff, isn't there, between what was her name in the movie?
I can't remember
because it's not even on IMDb, is it? The character's movie, the character's name. She had like it was almost like a Bond villain-esque name as well.
Ivana, I know my name is Ivana Shagalot. What?
Ivana I know the actress because she used to be in Neighbours, which I used to watch back in the day.
Right, let me change the logo to Neighbours cast.
Yeah, that was my excitement. Like I've got when we got the cast list, I was like, "Oh shit! Someone from Neighbours is in it." Yes, Neighbours is now Jurassic World canon. She's not even on this list here.
I can't remember the actress's name, let alone the character.
I'll find it.
I do feel they could have done more with that character.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. She, Dickin Lackman, Australian actress. Anyway, she's still not named, but she's basically like the. How would you describe her? She's the hired hand, isn't she, to basically kidnap Maisie?
Well, she's the hired hand to collect dinosaurs for Biosyn, like specific ones, right? If my memory's correct, she collects specific dinosaurs for Biosyn, and obviously they've put Maisie on that list, so she has hired the guy to go kidnap Maisie, but then he also finds Blue, and then they take Blue's offspring, and. I'm with you, Ross. Like, if they had a bit more of like who this character was, I just think like part of me feels like they played her up a bit too hammy. She's like stood in front of the car as the plane's landing with her shades on, and then she's
they could have followed that through by keeping that her character, and that was all like her character was about that kind of flashy sort of stuff. But it was like they kind of almost were like, "Oh, should we go with this? Should we go with this? Nah, let's play it safe," and then didn't, which is a bit of a shame because I think it could have worked.
Or if they did it like a way like she's all flashy and and doing all their like poses and stuff, and then when they get her cornered or whatever, like she breaks down and it's like that's not who she is at all. But
I just did it for the money. What the fuck?
She wasn't in
this
it.
shit.
It's just a job. It's just a job.
There's that one, the one scene that took me out was when there was like that standoff between her and was it Barry's? The agents with Barry?
Yeah, it was the agents with Barry, Owen, and then she released her Atrociraptors, as they're known. I don't even think they're named in the movie, but that's what they're called.
But there's this big fucking just gunfight explodes, and she's just standing in the middle, and there's literally bullets ricocheting, like hitting the wall all around her, and she just like flips her dress and walks off to the side slowly. There's like no sense of urgency. She's standing in the middle of a gunfight and just walks off casually to the side, and I was like, fucking hell. That was not even flinching, not even hauling ass or anything.
It's funny because like, we're mentioning this sort of stuff.
It was just too Bondy for me. You know,
you could have shoved the henchman into the path of the bullets and then run off, and that would have been great.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we're saying this. The final cut, Colin might edit around this that we don't see that. So not that specifically, but there's things like that we're talking about that might not actually make into the final cut. It's going to be really interesting to like see what the final cut's like. But Sam, I'm with you on there. Like, because I was watching that scene, I was having fun with it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like that scene, I said has like the most gripes for me, but it's more like it's not gripes that make me hate the movie or anything. It's just like I'm having fun with it, and this is what it is.
Yeah, and something like that was for me was because obviously they said, didn't they, you know, feedback at the end and whatnot. So it was kind of like watching the film might have been a little bit more critical on that. But that if that scene was kept in, that would definitely be something we'd be talking about years later, taking the piss out of, I think. Like a Cooper moment or something.
Like the thing that got me with that sequence, and I didn't really write this in my notes at the time because we didn't really have time to sit there and write a whole bloody essay about what we thought. But like, there's a bit where like a baby baryonyx and that weird mammalian creature bite the hands of a guy, and they're like holding him there while Owen's like leaning over him, and then like another dinosaur bites his head or whatever. But he's like having a conversation with this guy, like interrogating him while these two dinosaurs are biting his arms. And I was like going, to me, like that was the most cheesiest moment in the whole movie. I was like, why are those animals just holding him there like they're waiting for Owen to get the answers? I was like, this is feeling really out of like, ugh. But then at the same exact moment, you've got this Carnotaurus breaking out with the Allosaurus in the background, and they're eating people on fire, and I was just like, this is fucking cool.
That was one of the
oh god,
that was one of the goriest, not goriest, but that was one of the most sort of violentest scenes within a Jurassic movie. But that
pure chaos.
That's not including the scene later on in the film, which was ultra violent. Which I'm sitting there, as soon as it happened, I was lauged. I don't know if I turned to you at the same time, but
was that
I
the
laughed.
moped guy?
Yeah, no, that was brilliant.
That was so fun.
Oh wait. Well, before we get on to, cause I'm curious what you guys are going to say. What was the most violent?
It was just jumping right towards the end. Yeah, the Giganotosaurus, when his head's like when they're hiding out in that little tower thing, and you know it's like keeps coming in.
Yeah.
Like and Owen just starts fucking. He whips out his knife, doesn't he?
Stabbing it. Yeah, that's great.
It's like ultra violent, isn't it? He's not like just like get away. It's just like
it's like some.
It's just like ultra violent, and there's like blood splatters everywhere. And I was just like, surely this is going to be like a PG. Surely that's going to be cut down. I cannot see the BBFC.
I have my hands clasped that remains in the cut. Owen just using because what's funny is he's had that fucking knife on his belt for the last 2 movies and has not really used it aside from where he's cut the fuel line when the Indominus is looking for him. But it's like to him finally get it out and he's stabbing this theropod right in the fucking nose with this knife, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, Owen is one of my favourite characters from the entire series. He's almost creeping up to be number 1 because it just everything he does is just freaking awesome, and like I just love that character. And
this was his best movie. So.
Yeah, this definitely was his best movie. And like to see him stabbing the Giganotosaurus in the face with a knife, I was like, this is great. This is hilarious.
It's like what you've always wanted to see in a Jurassic film, isn't it? Like
Definitely. But so just to jump back to Malta, like the whole chaos of Malta, and there's the gunfight and Claire running over the roofs with these Atrociraptors. I loved the moment when she was like running through the houses, and like that thing was after her, because like even though I knew she was gonna live, like the tense, I actually felt really tense watching that. And like she's running through those like the washing that's hanging up, and it's like you've got this handheld camera in front of her face. She's like, it's this like raptor thing's chasing her. I was like, oh my god,
high adrenaline sort of, like it was a Bourne movie, wasn't it? Basically,
yeah, really good, really well done.
I think, and anyone who says that John Schwartzman's cinematography isn't great after this film is an idiot. Yeah, that's fucking great. That whole from start to finish of the Malta. Just we were saying about the Carnotaurus and the
Allosaurus.
Allosaurus, yeah. The scene where they're chasing Owen down the street, and it sort of pans around that corner, doesn't it, into the town square, and they're just there. That was fucking wicked.
That's awesome. One of the money shots in the movie.
Shit, just like a big town square, like that just goes round, and these two ginormous beasts are just fucking wreaking havoc in the middle of this fucking.
The size of the dinosaurs are really well done in this movie.
It was like a breathtaking shot. But that was as well when you cut back to when they're first released in the little underground thing, and they're just between them, and it's almost like teamwork. They're just like whipping people up and tossing them in the air and fucking snacking on them. That's great.
And I really appreciate when they got let out of their cages that Owen is stood in front of them with his hands out, like he's almost doing the raptor thing. He's like, oh my god, like these two things are coming towards me. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there's some concept art of Owen from Jurassic World, I believe, and he is doing that to an Allosaurus and a Carnotaurus. I believe it's those two. Like they brought that concept art to life finally, but like in this movie, which is really kick-ass. Oh no, it might be Fallen Kingdom concept art. I think they've done that. Like I'll have to look it up. But yeah, like when you say when the moped comes around the well, not the moped, but when he's on the bike and he comes around the corner and you see those two dinosaurs. You guys were talking about this person on the moped being eaten. I think I saw it in my head, but I don't think I
actually
I was absolutely.
You laughed though. You laughed
so hard.
I did. I laughed because I was laughing because of the spectacle. I was like, oh my god!
When the moped, it was one of them little fucking annoying electric scooters. Yeah. The guy was just like, and it just goes, oh.
No, see, I missed that. Then I completely missed that. So then I can't. Well, then I look forward to seeing that. Hopefully, if that's in the final cut.
Oh, it's great. It needs to be. It can't not be.
I don't think it is. There's too much money gone in. Oh, sorry, Ross.
I was going to say, it's that slight little bit of humour, just what you need. That I mean, the whole thing is just like thrilling, but having that little bit was just like, I don't know. It was so topical. It's so of this moment, and it was just hilarious. It's like what everyone wants to see happen to someone on this fucking.
They don't chase him down after, do they? I can't.
Again, no, the
3 months in there.
The Atrociraptors keep chasing him. The two dinosaurs are too busy in the town square causing havoc.
And then
I think that shot's definitely going to be in the movie because it's too expensive. There's too much money in that shot to like not have it in the final film.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Ross?
I was saying that's the point where he like wrecks his bike, and then they end up in that little minivan thing, don't they? And they're after.
No.
Owen doesn't end up in that, does he? Yeah.
No, it's DeWanda Wise's character who's in the minivan with Claire. And then they go to the plane, and then Owen is still being chased by the Atrociraptors. And then he drives his bike on the plane as it's taking off.
Oh my god!
And the Atrociraptor grabs on, and then the bike falls down the plane as it's taking off, and like knocks it off the back of the plane.
Oh my god!
That was a great,
absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I love that. But that was one of my not negatives when it was on my kind of peeve list. The line reeled off after that.
It
was a bit like I was just like, cool, that was a really out of place, that line. Well, because there was a lot of stuff in the film. I found it particularly when because we didn't touch on that, but I don't know if we need to. But when Grant and Ellie first sort of rekindle, they're sort of catching up, aren't they? And there's the little Jurassic Part 3.
I was going to say we haven't even talked about Grant's dig site at all. But they mentioned Mark Degler. He's like, and how's Mark? Like,
but there's a lot of stuff.
It was great.
there was a lot of hanging shots in that where, you know, I think they're definitely going to trim them down, you know, with just the editing, because there was like moments where like it went on a second too long before the next cut and that. But the scene when the Owen jumps onto the plane and for the bike and the Velociraptor falls into the drink is it the Wonder Wise's character that she does like a, what's the line? She's like, "Still got it."
What does she say?
Yeah, she does. She says, "Still got it."
I'm pretty sure that was the line, wasn't it?
Because I said to you after dinner,
or it's something like
it's definitely still got it. Because I put it on my notes and I remember speaking to you after
she's
about.
worried about herself, isn't she? She's turning around, looking at him, and then she looks back at her controls, and then she's taking off and she's like, "Still got it," or something. So this is my biggest gripe of the movie, right? Is DeWanda Wise's character? It's not the fact that like her character is necessarily bad or anything. It's that I wanted her to be a bit more, I don't know, a bit more broken, a bit more like, who is this character? A little bit more like, out of all the main, because she becomes one of the main cast. And she's like the new character from this movie who joins the rest of the ensemble.
Yeah. So
you've got like the classic characters and then her. And you're like, okay, well, we need to know more about her as a character to invest in her. To me, she almost felt like the Eddie Carr of this film. And I was waiting for her to be like either seriously injured or killed. And I know that Hollywood's probably not going to kill that type of character off in this type of movie. But at the same time, I'm like, they needed to do something with her character that makes me really sympathize with her, because at the moment it's just like she's fine, but she's just there. And it's
I felt like she was just there to deliver one-liners rather than
deliver one-liners and fly the characters out of dangerous situations.
There was a lot of missed opportunities, I think.
And I've heard that like rumors that like they're saying that she's being eyed to like carry the saga on like in future media and stuff. Like they're looking for her to be like the lead, and like my money's on like the live action series that they keep talking about, or maybe another movie. And I'm like, okay, I don't care about the character enough to like follow it, so I'm like, you know,
I think there's potential there, but it just wasn't shown in.
Which is a pilot, so it's like, what can you do with the pilot? Is like she has to, each episode or each film, she has to just like take equipment somewhere. I don't really know. Like, whereas Owen and Claire and Grant and Malcolm, they all have their like more interesting ties to like what's actually happening. Her character's fine. I liked her. She was fun, but at the same time, I was like, I just wish there was a bit more. Like, I wish there was a bit like a scene where it felt like there needed to be a scene where she was in a bar in Malta before everything kicked off, and she's like, I know she meets Claire. But they need
tempo treatment.
Yeah, she needs that like sort of moment where like she gives this spiel about her past, and you're like, oh, this is a character like that has seen some things or something, and she needs to actually look physically run down, where she looked too clean and like she's ready to kick ass all the time. And I'm like, yes.
That was one of my gripes on the sheet as well. Yeah. I said, you know, she's meant to be this roughneck, you know, living in the scrubs, living in the rough, and she was just so prim and perfect. Yeah, it looked like she'd just come from the salon and got like a perfectly done hairdo and highlights and whatnot.
But I will say, I watched
loads. Give Ludlow a run for his money.
Yeah, exactly. Give her like a drinking problem. That makes the flying more interesting if she has a drinking problem.
Here's one, quick one, because I've got the IMDb page open. Elva Trill has now got the. Has this been revealed, or is this just snuck on there? Charlotte Lockwood. Has that information been out there?
I don't think so.
Recently? Because now her character name...
It may have done, but I don't know.
Because I was waiting for people to think like, shit, is that the grown-up Maisie? But which, in a sense, you know...
It is.
It is, but it isn't. But then again, you know, I was thinking like, would people be like, fuck, is that going to be flashback sequences and that? Which again, it is, but it's not, you know?
Yeah.
With Maisie. But I haven't seen anyone talking about it. Her character being named.
Charlotte Lockwood. I think people might assume it might be the mum or something. I don't know. If they have been talking about it.
You can't look at it. You can't look at her and, you know, not assume it's going to be her. So, or something to do with her, which it is.
I would just say, just going back to DeWanda Wise's character, like I watched a movie called Fatherhood with Kevin Hart the other day. It's a pretty good movie, and she's in that. And I was watching it going, this is where Colin Trevorrow watched her and cast her, didn't he? Like I could tell. She's good. She's great in the movie. She's really good in the film as this like character. And I was watching. I was like, I can see this is. I can just see Colin watching this movie and going, I want her in the new Jurassic. So it's like, but then to give her the character, and it was almost like the same character from Fatherhood went over to Dominion and then did all those adventures rather than this whole new character. But speaking of Maisie and Charlotte Lockwood, I really, really appreciated like how they really lent into that aspect of Maisie's character, that she was a bit like pissed off at the world, and that, you know, oh, I'm a clone and all this sort of stuff. And then you find out, because Colin, when I spoke to him, he mentioned how, like, he said to me, he was like, something along these lines, by the way, I'm quoting from memory, but he said something along the lines of, everyone when they heard human clone assumes test tube baby, like something grown in a jar, like Alien Resurrection, you know, like the Ripley in the jar kind of thing, and all these hideous malformed things. He's like, but with Jurassic's always got to be like more real, like more grounded in our world, like how does it actually function? And he was like, but she is a clone, but she has to be grown inside a womb, so it's like an actual like pregnancy. So it is her mum, but her mum is her. So it's like she is a clone, but there's this like really grounded, more like organic reason behind it, and I thought that was just genius when I saw that in the movie, and they're talking about like Charlotte Lockwood on the camera and all that sort of stuff.
I think as well, like a lot of the dinosaurs have always been seen as like these kind of, you know, that on the one hand you're like, oh, these are kind of freaks of nature, these monsters, but on the other hand it's like, oh, there's still something natural and something kind of, you know, beautiful, and something there's not a monster, something that's just a living creature. So I guess it kind of plays into that quite a bit as well, doesn't it? It doesn't differentiate between like, you know, cold, harsh, scientific, you know,
sterile
human clone, sterile human clone, but, you know, beautiful, lovely, friendly dinosaurs. It kind of, it's one of those things I think that would have felt out of place if they hadn't have gone that route.
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate with what they did with her story, especially because it ties into Wu, and how like Wu shows her the footage of Charlotte on Sauna in 1986 with that Microceratus that we thought was a malformed Triceratops at first.
God, that thing, honestly, that thing was incredible. That was one of my favourites to me, was like its constant panicked look in those videos. Oh my God. It was amazing.
And which is nice because like we wrote on the DPG website that there was Microceratus born on Sauna back in the 80s, and this ties into that. So it was nice to see that play out on screen, like have some linkage to the previous viral marketing and that. But also to have Wu sit down with Maisie and Wu's character go through this arc of like, okay, I've messed up. I tried to fix the world by going to Biosyn and doing that, but now my locusts are going are messing things up, and we need to fix this problem. And he talks to Maisie, and they like console with each other, and then Maisie reaches a hand out to him to be like, no, he can help us. And obviously Malcolm and everyone's like, God. As he comes out of the shadows, this like broken man like literally steps out from the shadows like, help me.
Like, is it Grant or someone's like, I know you?
Yeah, exactly.
You're that doctor.
Yeah, you're that doctor, the guy who made all the dinosaurs. And
the guy that I said 3 or 4 things to 30 years ago.
Yeah, but Wu's character arc in this film I loved, and I like something I said to Colin, and I think I said to you guys after we saw this film. I never expected to see like Wu standing in a field with his arms up in the air releasing locusts as like one of the final character shots of a character in this movie series, but I love every second of that. Like, I just think that's such a genius end for the character because no one expects it. Everyone expects him to have the novel death, like he dies by raptor or dies by his own creation, but it's nice to have like, actually no, this is a guy who's gone the villainous path, for lack of a better term, and has ended up finding redemption. And he releases these locusts to go and I guess, eat the other locusts or stop eating the other crops or whatever. I don't know what. My memory is kind of lost on that kind of the part of the plot because there's so much in this movie to like catch up on. Don't know if you guys remembered any of that.
I think they were like it was like what they're doing with mosquitoes, like releasing sterile ones or something, so they can't reproduce.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing something with them.
And it was something to, and it was
around with genetics somewhere.
And it was something to do with Maisie, wasn't it? And Blue, like he needed baby Blue. That was the whole point. It was something to do with that, the parthenogenesis, to eradicate the threat of these locusts that he'd created for Biosyn. Yeah, loved all that. Loved all that. I loved Woo's because Sam. We all laughed at like Woo in Fallen Kingdom walking around with his hands in his pockets all the time and all this sort of stuff. And then I love Woo in this film. Like he just long hair. He just looks so different.
Always carrying a suitcase or something.
Yeah, and I really
in his arms.
I really like with Malcolm and Grant and even Ellie in this movie. Like they all Owen, Claire. They all wear like Claire not so much, but like they all wear very similar stuff each film, like a cartoon. Like they're always wearing the same sort of costume. Whereas Woo, like. Yeah, okay, so he wore Science Lab in the first film, and then he was in, like, black turtlenecks for these films. And then in this film, he just looks like...
Hobo.
like Hobo Woo, yeah. And I really like that as well. I was just like, that's great, out of left field. Because that was the one of the aspects of this film I didn't know anything about. It's like Woo. I was like, I don't know what they're going to do with Woo. I have no idea. I know he creates these locusts, but... I don't know what they do with him as a character. I don't know if he dies. And I think...
Do they devour him like the scarabs?
Yeah, like under his skin.
When he releases him at the end, they all just turn around on him and swarm him.
Oh, God, I was about to say something really inappropriate then. I was about to say he turns around and starts shooting the locusts with his woo goo, like the Ghostbusters.
His web slinger.
I'm so dehydrated.
Yeah, he his cheeks will get sucked in, his eyes go really sunken.
That guy from Starship Troopers with his brains getting sucked.
As he's killing these locusts.
Avenge me.
Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, like Maisie's whole thing was good with her finding out like that she's a clone, but it's more of like a natural birth, and that she does have a mother, that she was raised, and all that sort of stuff. That ties back into Fallen Kingdom nicely. I'm trying to think like how it all really ties into the series. Like Sauna, there's that line, and I did clarify this when I was having my call with Colin, because I was like, I just wanted to make sure like what they said about Sauna when Grant and Ellie are being taken to Biosyn's preserve. And the guy says the first generation came from Sauna.
Yeah,
so it implies that it was long ago.
I think there's something I can't remember like planted in there to give you an impression that they're not in Sauna. There's nothing in Sauna and all of that. But I don't know.
It does leave the question like exactly how did they do that operation and all that sort of stuff. And I think, hopefully I can say this and that it is out by the time this video comes out, but I think they're answering all that in bloody Camp Cretaceous. That's what Colin said. Because I know the Spinosaurus is in it. I know the Spinosaurus is coming back in Camp Cretaceous. And also I think Colin was telling me that the Spinosaurus doesn't make it out of Camp Cretaceous. So that's why it's not in Dominion.
Yeah, because there was...
I was waiting for it. I was like, where's the Spinosaurus? And it just never turned up. And I was like, well, okay, fair enough.
That was like the original battle, wasn't it? It was like, it was going to be like the fucking T-Rex family and fucking Spinosaurus and everything, you know. But that was, there's all that come out of that was, there's two T-Rexes at the end which meet up with the OG.
Yeah, so
in a passing scene, like towards the end credits, when
because that is how Colin described it to me back in the day. He said that like we see at the end all the dinosaurs, like Biosyn's been evacuated and they're leaving the dinosaurs in this like place where they can live in peace, and we see like a T-Rex family and Rexy join them quote unquote Rexy, the Tyrannosaur like join this family, and we see like a male T-Rex and stuff. It's like implied that they're the ones from Sauna or whatever. But the big battle at the end, Colin was debating whether the Spinosaurus should be there at the time we had that conversation. He was like, should it be there or not, or would that be too much? And I actually feel like, yeah, it would be too much. It's fine as it is, because we've been recording this podcast for an hour and 10 minutes, and I haven't mentioned my favourite aspect of this entire movie yet. Like the number one thing, what I love most about this movie. And
this film probably contains my favourite. It's not a single scene. It's like a 2 or 3 scenes, sort of little joined together. And it's easily in my top 3 of the whole franchise now. And I think it's going to maybe push its way to the top over the years.
Go on, say
which
it.
Is,
it's the same scene that I'm going to mention.
From the start of when Owen, Claire, and the Wonder Wise's character, when they eject Claire out, and everything from the, I cannot even pronounce it, the Quetzalcoatlus.
Quetzalcoatlus, yeah.
Yeah, Quetzalcoatlus, attacking her all the way through to her in the trees on the parachute, and all of that. And then when the Therizinosaurus comes and it's basically stalking her.
Well, no, you missed the T-Rex Giga deer moment in between that, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Everything from the ejection until the swamp is just fucking dynamite.
The bit that is the most like the Jurassic, the Lost World is what you're saying there, Sam.
Yeah, basically.
But it's different to the Lost World, because we never got a sequence like that in the Lost World where a character was like hiding in the bushes watching.
No, the T-Rex doesn't come along then. The T-Rex is with Owen and the Wonder Wise.
Oh,
wait. The goat's there, and the Therizinosaurus whips it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Claire and then that's when it starts.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm getting it.
It's later on when Owen and Claire Owen and the Wonder Wise are there, like, because they're looking for Claire, and they find the parachute in the tree.
That's it. Yeah. No, you're right.
Then the Rex comes along sniffing it out, doesn't it? And then that's when the Giganotosaurus comes along.
Yeah.
But still fucking awesome. Just that whole where she's just crawling away slowly, and it's just fucking
terrifying.
Just so tense,
and
grim, just horrible, claustrophobic. Just that would be.
It's just that camera close in Claire's face, isn't it? Just
there's that great shot
of the Therizinosaurus, and you can't make out the detail of it, but you know it's right behind her.
What's cool about this is, one, like I was worried because the Therizinosaurus is such a wacky looking dinosaur, and I was like, I wonder how they're going to pull this thing off.
Well, especially and it becomes a herbivore as well. I mean, that's just
exactly. This is like a dangerous herbivore, and to see it on screen, the fact that it was blind and it was using echolocation to find things, which is why it whipped the deer, and it's more like skittish.
It's screaming at the water as well. When Claire
yeah, with that shot that's like half the water is in the shot with Claire under the water and its mouth over the water. Like, just everything about that sequence was brilliant. And then obviously the way the Therizinosaurus is used later on in the movie, I was like, the number one thing I love most about this movie is the new dinosaur. That Therizinosaurus is like so awesome. It steals the show for me because it's so different to anything I've seen before, and they've used
brooding and slow and like ancient and just
feels
weird.
Feels like I was saying to Colin, like I was like, I'd love to write that was from Sauna originally, like that was like that's been around for some years, but we've just never seen it until now. But yeah, it's like just that creature, and obviously the fact that it kills the Giga, or the T-Rex pushes it into it and that kills the Giga at the end is like kick-ass. So technically the first ever herbivore killing a carnivore in the Jurassic series happens right at the end of the series, like the last thing that happens.
The beginning or the end, who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think of the Dilophosaur?
I'll be honest.
You had a little issue with it, didn't you?
I had a couple of issues with it. The Dilophosaurus, to me, actually, I have 3 main issues that come to mind, okay? But before I get onto those, I'll say I love the fact that they used a lot of practical effects for it. And I love the fact that there was more than one. and I like the fact that it appeared more than once in the movie. It didn't just have one scene. My 3 issues with it are: one, even though I love them using practical effects, it didn't look as convincing as I was hoping it would look.
Yeah, the not with the I think the Dimetrodon one was a little bit.
Yeah, that was kind of worse. Yeah,
and that was kind of a fucking a ball tickler as well that didn't pay off, because as soon as that come out the water, when they're in the cave, I was like, "Fuck, it's the Spinosaur," because it comes out with the fin, doesn't it? Sort of like on the riverboat at the end in
that would have been a good place to have a Spinosaurus, but I think the cave would have had to have been a lot bigger. It
could have been a juvenile or something.
Yeah.
I think they used it pretty effectively, even if it wasn't immediately convinced. I think having it in there, like, harken back to like those kind of old school, a Journey to the Center of the Earth sort of thing.
Yeah, I didn't mind the Dimetrodon as much, but like, I'm with Sam on some of the practical effects of that thing didn't look great.
Remind me of a ride at like Universal Studios. The Men in Black ride.
But then I know that like we're a year out from the movie, so whether with the Dilo and this, whether they're actually going to touch those effects up with CGI and they're going to look really good in the end product, we don't know. But when we saw them, I was like, yeah, you can tell they're like puppets and they don't look that.
We'll see how much the practical effect Puritans stand by what they say when they're like, oh no, practical effects are always better than CGI. We'll see what they reckon when they see it.
Or it comes out and they are touched up and everyone's like, they did touch them up.
It's like, yeah, you haven't seen what they look like before.
And we were like, no, trust us. It looked like shit before. Not shit, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. But my other gripes with the Dilophosaurus are, like, one, we've been waiting to see this creature for 6 bloody movies, and the first time we see it, it's like in Claire's face, and then Owen just picks it up and throws it away.
The reveal, I don't know if you caught the reveal, because this was something that blew my mind with it. Because she's outside of the tower, isn't she? And
she looks over the bushes, and there's like 1 or 2 heads.
Yeah, it's like a wide. It's a wide shot, and you can't. It's not obvious. It's just there, like a silhouette of its head.
I like that, but like I'm talking about the big, on screen.
Yeah, when it comes into her face.
I was like, I get it. It's tense, but this thing is designed to shoot projectiles. So it's like, would it be like right in your face? And I know that it kind of followed an edge up the hill, and I feel like that's what they're leaning into. But
it could have had so much more with that fight. It could have been like, I imagine it could have been like the equivalent of Owen having a knife fight with a human being, but it's him and the Dilophosaurus in close combat. It's spraying venom everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a knife fight, but against the dinosaurs.
And maybe like Owen gets hit in the face and one of his eyes gets blinded, and he's like, oh god, and he's like, he has to do everything for the rest of the movie with one eye,
with one hand over his eye.
He's like, oh god, but like he's lost the contact lens
of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, I'm fine. Owen picking it up, it's like, okay, fine, but there's a 4th gripe coming up. There is this idea that there are adult Dilophosauruses that are 20 feet long. They're mentioned in the first novel. They're mentioned in The Lost World. Fans have been talking about it for ages. To not see one, like, I was like, and I know, like, it's a bit hard to be disappointed by something that you're not promised you're getting, but I was like, they had the perfect opportunity to have a full-grown Dilophosaurus at this point.
Have it lurking in the background whilst it leaves us.
Yeah, and especially, like, they could have had it lurking around that tower, and then when the Giga comes out, when the characters are all together later, you have that adult Dilophosaurus come out, and you're like, oh my god, it's back, and then the Giga takes it out or something. And
or it notices it's coming and is like, nah, fuck this. And then
like darts off. There's like they could have just had the adult Dilophosaurus in there, but they didn't.
The cool scene, I think, to have it in, not near this, was in the Malta scene, when they're all fucking breaking out in the underground layer, and the Carnotaurus's tail whips open another cage, and a fucking adult Dilophosaurus pops out, and he's just like, just fucking firing off.
Exactly. That would have been so good. There's obviously lots. There's all like kinds of what ifs they could have done and stuff. But part of me feels like with the Dilophosaurus, I've got the sense the fans might be a bit disappointed with its final return. Like, it's not as awesome as like we're all expecting. But here's the thing: like, I brought up, and I don't know if it'll be fixed in the final edit, but like there's a scene in this film where like they call the dinosaurs with a signal all back to this like giant rotunda place that like that's where all the dinosaurs just hang out. I don't really remember why, but they're there, and I don't know if it's because the forest is burning from the locusts.
I think it's like the escape procedure is to lure all of the dinosaurs into like the bunker instead of the humans going in the bunker, the dinosaurs go in the bunker and the humans escape, sort of thing.
Right. Okay.
So that's dinosaur evacuation or something like that.
So that's fine. So they're willing. So this is what I was like confused by, because, and it might be fixed in the final edit, but I I was confused. Like, you're protecting the dinosaurs from a burning forest, so you're bringing them all together in one place where they're all just going to fuck each other up and kill each other. Like, what? What was the logic there? Like, why? I guess like they just have to like. They'll make some more or something. It's like, just let them live in the forest. Like, it's a huge place. I don't think these locusts are going to burn everything.
And what an odd security procedure to have in place.
Yeah.
When you got them locusts, just in case they somehow all catch on fire and they all escape and all go into the woods and the forest catches on fire. You know, it's just like.
I mean, playing devil's advocate, you could be like, they were never expecting such a widespread disaster to strike, and therefore. They never expected all of the dinosaurs to be in one place.
It was like
maybe
panicked thing.
Maybe it was like a vetting procedure. You know, they all have individual fucking chips, and they're like, okay, we need to bring in the stegosaurs, so we'll fucking, you know, we'll program it to come to us to do it. And maybe their security procedure is just a button like all,
bring them
and
back.
they click that. Yeah. So
it's like they call them in, don't they? And so my gripe, why I brought this up, is my gripe is with the Dilophosaurus, because while this is happening, Dodson is making his escape, and the Dilophosauruses aren't a part of this signal routine. They're in the tunnels with him, like eating him. And I was like, why are the Dilophosauruses not in that rotunda with all the other dinosaurs? Like, why are they exempt from this rule? And I did mention this to Colin, so whether he'll address it or not. If he doesn't, I'm sorry, Colin, for bringing it up publicly. But
sorry for ruining your career.
But like, it's one of those things where like I picked up and I was like, yeah, the Dilophosaurus should be in that rotunda, or maybe that tunnel he's in is under the rotunda, and they are being called in there. But then I thought, like, well, how did they get in the tunnel? Like this. Like, I like the fact that he gets eaten in his own Hyperloop by a load of Dilophosaurus. That's awesome. But it's just the geography of, like, why these dinosaurs are in there and stuff. I was like, it just seems a bit convenient.
It's just a full circle kind of thing, isn't it, for the Nedry, you know?
But there's a way you can do that that's not confusing.
Just shift the timing around a little bit.
Oh, yeah, you know when they're in the little hypertube and they're all in there, and Dodson looks up and there's a load of them and they kind of split apart, and there's like Nedry, the fucking ghoul version of him that's been cloned, and he's the one that takes him out. Like, his little frill comes out like, you killed me.
He's like hallucinating in the tunnels.
The ghost of the dinosaur parks past.
But an early render of it is just fucking Wayne Knight's character from Toy Story 2.
I have to go all the way to work. But it's one of those things where, like, I'm thinking of the final edit might go against all this. I don't know how it's actually going to look, because a lot can change in a year.
It's definitely going to be a lot trimmed down and cut out and chopped and changed. You know, it's a long old movie.
Yeah, it was a long movie, and like Ross said, it felt like 2 movies. Not. People said that about Fallen Kingdom, and that was only 2 hours long. But this film really does feel like 2 hours, 2 movies, which for good, because it actually. I'm glad it's one movie that feels like 2 movies in that way, and it's as long as it is.
But you said there was a lack of, not a lack, but I kind of agreed as well, is that there felt like there was long periods of time without any dinosaur action.
There's barely any dinosaur action in the movie overall. Like, a lot of it's just like the human characters doing their thing, which is fine because that's like what the first film was like in a way. And like...
But what's going to come of that when test audiences and studios get involved? Because this is the assembly cut that we see, so you know that could get completely fucked.
Yeah, and well, I guess in that case, I'd just be thankful that I even got to see this cut once in my life. But I just hope that, like, things like when I bring up like the Dilophosaurus in the tunnel and it's annoying it's not that annoying. I don't really like. I'm sitting on it for like 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh, whatever. Doesn't matter. I like the scene. I like the film. The film's up there with the first, second, fourth, and fifth for me, and the third one is still the one that's like below all the other ones. But saying that, I haven't seen the final cut, so I'm talking about the cut that we saw. I was so impressed by this movie because one, it like painted a world that I've never seen in movies before, like to this scale. Like dinosaurs have always been. Until the 90s, they were these B-movie things that they'd toy around with every now and then, unless it was like a Ray Harryhausen movie. Even though they were B-movies, he treated them like A-movies, so he like did the stop motion as best he could, and he really respected dinosaurs. He didn't treat them as like these stupid B-movie monsters. He really tried to make them come to life. Then we get to the 90s, and dinosaurs become this like thing in movies that are in storytelling.
They become a money printer.
They become a money printer, yes. And they become this thing that's like, okay, we can make money in this, but the Jurassic Park series treats them with respect and like, okay, we're gonna make adventure movies and we're gonna have fun with them, but we're gonna do this without like treating them like B-movie monsters. And obviously at the same time, you've got your like Carnosaur movies and stuff going on at the same time that still continue that tradition. And then with Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom coming out, I was like, these feel like the old movies to me. And I know there's people out there who completely disagree with me on that, but to me, Jurassic World, to me, Jurassic World, in terms of tone, feel, aesthetics, everything in that fourth movie, to me feels like someone took Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3, put them in a blender, and then made a single movie with all those tones and stuff. And then Fallen Kingdom feels like someone took The Lost World and then all the Universal horror monster movies and blended them together. It was like, okay, and Indiana Jones, and blended those together. And then this film comes along and I'm like, okay, well, we've got all of what I've just said, and we've got like Mission Impossible in there, we've got like Michael Crichton sci-fi in there, we've got X-Files in there, we've got Neighbours in there, we've got all sorts of all sorts of other elements, and this world that they've painted with these dinosaurs being out in the world, and like you see in London with the Dimorphodon. It's like, I haven't seen anything like this. This is totally felt new, and I really like loved that as like a end point for the series, as well as like
really
potentially
going
a
all
beginning.
Out for the last one, just really pulling out all the stops to make sure you're touching on everything you possibly can that perhaps hasn't been given the attention it deserves in the previous films or in other films at all. And you are just going all out with everything.
And they're obviously laying the seeds for like future, because they've got this. The film ends with like the classic dinosaurs that we know and love are in this sanctuary Biosyn preserve that's like cut off even more from the rest of the world than Sauna or Nublar ever were, because it's surrounded by these snowy mountains, and they've got that weird net signal thing that they're like keeping them in, so then like they're just locked away. And then so their story's like ended there, and then but the rest of the world is dealing with all these other dinosaurs that are out and about, and God knows what other stories can happen there. And so you get the best of both worlds, really. It's like it can continue on if you want, or you can just end it here and it's fine.
Yeah, because even when Grant and Ellie are in the park at the end, aren't they? And where are they going? They're going to like Congress or something.
They're going to make like their statements. Yeah, they're going to go, like, spill the beans on everything.
And I can't remember what they are, but there's some little dinosaurs bouncing around in the park and that.
Oh yeah.
Grant's like, I'll never get used to it.
And then stumps them.
He goes, I'll never get used to it. And he like the camera cuts and his trousers are all brown at the back. He's like,
he stands up, thoroughly shat himself.
Yeah, he just shakes a tud out of his trouser leg.
Something I do want to just go over, because I'll probably wrap up soon or something. But because I'm now pulling deep into memory, trying to remember things. But the end battle. What did you make of that? I know, just like the T-Rex, because there was a moment in it. It's just like, I fucking killed her.
Yeah, I thought she was dead, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
They lingered on that open eye for just a tad too long to make it comfortable.
Yeah, because thinking of that cut, that's a throwback to the scene that we didn't see, but it's in the Cretaceous scene, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
With the eye dilates, and I'm sure the eye dilates when the Giganotosaurus basically smashes the shit out of her against that like fallen slab.
Well,
And
the
there's
thing
like
is
a
that
close up of the eye,
was...
and it dilates, and then like 5 minutes later, it's like a fucking Matrix moment where it's like.
Well, it's almost it's almost
back.
Colin doing the Indominus Rex fight again. That's what, you know, because the T-Rex comes back from in that fight as well, like
From the dead.
It did feel
From the
a tad
dead.
obvious, but it was also pretty epic when she did come back. But again, I felt it was a slightly obvious thing to do. But I don't know. But I mean, that's just what you want, though, isn't it? You want a bit of like faux drama in your sort of good guy versus bad guy fight, don't you? Everyone knows the good guy's going to win.
It would have been. I think like it would have made more sense to have it like a male T-Rex. So it's like almost like the Jurassic Park 3 T-Rex, like coming back, like I'll avenge the Spinosaurus. Like, kill
yeah, I'm wondering if there was like an alternate version. Yeah, because for me, when it happened, and I was like, they've killed her, and I was.
Well, not only that they killed her, they crushed characters under her. Because there was characters running under that slab, and she lands on it, and you're like, oh fuck, they just like killed a load of people at the same time.
What a like redemption for, you know, like fans almost, like, you know, because if there was like an alternative cut where she did die, because when it happened, I was like, oh, this is it. I weren't like gonna cry. I was like, oh.
I was fine with it. I was like,
as an end, because technically it's like she saved the main character, sacrificed herself. She hasn't, but you know the situation has. And imagine that they're getting in the helicopter and it fucking takes off, and then the Lost World T-Rexes come in and just start fucking ripping the shit out of the Giganotosaurus.
And like if you watch, you see like Grant and Malcolm and Ellie lean out of the helicopter, and Owen and that, and they're all looking at the T-Rex that we know and love. They're just like looking at it like, oh my god, she like died. And you know, not to say like, oh god, the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and Fallen Kingdom is dead now. Like, not to say that, but like they're just looking down at this carnage, and then there's like a lingering shot on the T-Rex that we know and love as they take off.
And the ball looks up at Grant, and it's like, Grant, Malcolm.
Yeah.
You know, from the fucking Lost World line, isn't it? Like, he's going to see us and be like, you.
Yeah. But no, I love the end battle. Colin mentioned something to me that none of us picked up on, I don't think. So when the T-Rex comes into that battle,
in the circle.
Did you pick up on this?
Yeah,
I didn't. Like, it put his head in that, like, there was that
like in
circle
the Jurassic Park pose.
Yeah, in the Jurassic Park pose, and it made the logo. Like the logo was made on screen.
I chuckled when it did it. I chuckled. I was like,
oh, I didn't even pick up on it.
That's going to be a screenshot. Yeah, it was like the way it walks in sideways and then does the Jurassic logo pose.
Yeah, no, I didn't pick up on it. I was like looking at it going, okay, we're seeing a T-Rex through water. It's like, is that a waterfall? And then I was like, oh no, that's like one of the Biosyn like statues with a water feature thing, and I didn't pick up that it was the actual logo shape until.
What made me laugh earlier about it as well is that, earlier on when they first bump into Malcolm in the garden or that area, he's posing in front of it as well.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, because he's like they're taking pictures of him or something.
God, Malcolm's so good in this film.
Yeah, but did you think? Was you not upset or not? Well, no, I wasn't upset, but did you think they were going to kill anyone off? There was a moment I thought they were going to do Malcolm.
Yeah, when he was going up against the Giga, I thought they were going to off Malcolm, because in the original script of Jurassic Park, he was going to be offed by the T-Rex, and I thought, oh, they're going to do his original ending, but then they didn't. I had a few issues with that sequence in the final cut, because I thought, like you said, that there was a few lingering shots for too long. I felt like they were walking around that car a bit too long. But then I don't know if it's my memory. I don't know if it's my memory, and if I rewatch the scene, I'll be like, no, actually, its pacing's all right. I don't know if it was because it was like a victim of seeing it for the first time and where it is in the film, and you finally get all the characters together and stuff. And I need to rewatch it to have a real opinion on it. But I did think in that moment Malcolm was going to die. It
wasn't a quick scene. I remember that, but I'd have to see it again. I don't. That whole Giganotosaurus bit was quite long, with the outpost or whatever it is.
That like little building thing. It was just kind of. I just wanted, like, Dodson had this like henchman, and he appeared in a few scenes, but I thought, oh, he's definitely going to bite the dust. and then he just disappears, and I was like, I don't even know where he went. And and I was kind of hoping that like someone would come out when all those characters together to be like, "Oh, you guys, you shouldn't be," and then gets eaten by something. But no, it never happened.
Oh, you guys!
Yeah, you guys, what are you doing there?
Just fucking adult Dilophosaurus is like.
What did you think to Dodson? Maybe this should be the last topic because we've been talking for an hour and a half.
Yeah, and with the final cut of the movie is probably so different that anyone listening to this is like, "What movie is this?"
Yeah, what the fuck did they watch?
Yeah. I liked it. It's hard because what can you make? Because
one, he's got hair in this movie.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Hey, but he's rich. He can afford hair implants.
Yeah,
yeah. But the character-wise, just going on movies, it's hard because this is the movie canon universe, whatever you want to call it. It's hard to get a grasp on a character who said a handful of lines and was acting.
Yeah, I mean, you think about how long he's
shady.
in the first one. He's in there, what, like 5-10 minutes? You know,
no,
really?
not even that. It's probably about 2 minutes. That scene. Tops.
And then he becomes like a main character in the last one of the series. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to. I mean,
well in the first. Oh, go on, Ross.
Sorry, go on. No, you go.
I was going to say, in the first film, there's certain inflections in the way he talks that you can get some inkling at his character, but it's barely anything to work off of. Like he says to Nedry, he's like, you know, he says something and he's like laughing, but it's like a nervous laugh. He's like, is it how do you beat security or something like that? Like he's nervous about Nedry undertaking this thing, but he's young, and then obviously in this movie, it's like he's a lot older and that. I thought it was fine. Like he's obviously a different character, and time's passed, and he's very successful in this movie, and I thought he played him really well. And there's that moment. I think it's the moment when the locusts are all burning and stuff, or somewhere around there. There's a bit where his character shifts. Like he goes from that like jovial.
Yeah, it's when they're like, you've got to evacuate, aren't they? And he's like, no. And they're like, we're all fucked if we don't. And he's like, no. And then I think it's his henchman. It's like, we got to get the fuck out of here, or something like that.
The direct quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to get the fuck out of here.
I liked it. You know, I liked his demise, although there was, you know, how did they get in there? And also, how did they get into the little train so quick? But technically, he could have been any rich scientist, rich corporation, you know.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the name. If it wasn't
that was fucking thing. I wonder if he'll keep that in. Sorry for interrupting you. It was the biosync, the can, wasn't it?
Okay, I can tell you guys this because, like, obviously this video should be out after this is out. They're doing it's in Camp Cretaceous. Dodson's being introduced in Camp Cretaceous, and you're going to see how he gets that can in the series. That's how it links. So that's like,
why would he? Does it? That's the thing.
I don't know. I don't know what the storyline is, but they're dealing with like the whole signal brain thing and controlling dinosaurs' movements. That, like, Colin said to me that they're doing that. And that's like when you watch Dominion, you'll know like why he has the can and why they can do that with the dinosaurs and this, that, and the other. But you don't, like, if you don't watch Camp Cretaceous, it's not really. You don't really need to watch it to understand what's happening in Dominion. It's just when you see that can, you're like, okay, so he obviously went back and got it at some point. So it makes you think when and that and like how did he find it, but. It's almost like there's an untold story, but they're obviously doing it in Camp Cretaceous, or at least I hope they've done it in Camp Cretaceous, because if not, if they've like changed the storyline in that, then everyone's hearing this for the first time. But
I mean, you could. I think you maybe if it wasn't, you could have your own interpretations of it. You could be my interpretation he would have more than one of them, and that was his starting point.
Yeah, like a prototype, a rusty prototype that he's kept over these years that he just wants to like keep for. Like momentum. He's like, memento. He's like, I need to keep this because this is where like our roots come from. But if they didn't have the Barbasol cannon there and they changed his name, you're right. He could have just been anyone.
If I'm gonna be truthful, I didn't really give that much of a shit about how he got it. It's just a nod to who he is and what happened. Like, not to sound like, you know, kind of like I don't care, but it's.
Well, no, you're right. It didn't really matter to the plot of this movie why he has that can or not, because it's not like they said oh, he cloned the dinosaurs from some cans that they stole. This can they stole from Ease of New. Like that, they said we took the first generation from Sauna. So already you've got the setup of like they just stole the dinosaurs as they were from Sauna.
Yeah, it just kind of just shows that that's where that obviously has an important impact.
I just know the fans are going to do like if Camp Cretaceous doesn't do what Colin said that they've been thinking of doing. They don't do that. The fans are going to go on such a tirade about like, how did he get that? Where's the story? Is it a comic book? Like, what's going on? We need answers, damn it.
Oh, it's in the viral marketing. Well, it's not on screen.
Yeah, it's not on screen. Yeah, I don't know what else to really say at this moment. There's obviously still so much to go over in like the way this film will play out with fans and its role in the franchise as a whole and what it means and stuff like that. I think like maybe
change in the next 9 months.
Yeah, what could change in the next 9 months from what we've seen? I think like the one thing I want to sort of end on is like it was really nice to watch a Jurassic Park movie in the cinema, and it really did give those old feelings again. Like there was moments in this movie where I really did feel like a kid watching the first film or like Lost World. I was like, oh, this it's like it's fun.
It's just unchained, relentless, like limitless adventure sort of feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also they like because they've blended the sort of new cast of characters from the last two movies with the old one. It was just nice to finally have that mix on screen, and with what I guess they learned from what Star Wars did, like with the new Star Wars films where they like killed off the old characters and they did it that way. Like your favorite characters die one in every movie, and it's like I think they got a lot of backlash for that because it was like treating the old characters in such a way that the fans didn't like. Whereas in this one, they've sort of teased. Well, there was aside from Wu and Mr. DNA and I guess the T-Rex, if you want to count it, there wasn't really any of the old characters in Jurassic World. And then Fallen Kingdom, you have Malcolm bookend that movie, and then this one, it's like it just all out, and then they nail it. And it just, to me, it was like seeing these characters again on screen, and it was just so, I don't know, refreshing.
I think it's quite nice because obviously, like it's now it's very definitely a multi-generational spanning sort of film series. It's nice to have like that final on-screen confirmation of those two universes absolutely 100% inhabiting the same world, and yeah, it just felt nice. It was like you say, a nice sort of ending to it, to have like that final confirmation that it's the same film series that adults and children alike are enjoying and have been enjoying for so many years. It's just nice.
Yeah, and it was like it was like if you had like a packet of crisps that you ate when you were a kid, and you remember loving this packet of crisps. Oh, I love the flavour of these crisps, and then you haven't eaten them for like 30 years. And then you find some in a corner shop and you're like, oh my God, they still make these Tangy Toms? I remember Tangy Toms. I love Tangy Toms. They're so nice. And then you go to eat them and you're like, I hope these taste the same how I remember them. And then you eat them and you're like, yes, they do. That's how this felt to me. It was like, I was worried about like how Grant, Ellie and Malcolm were going to play out on screen. Like after all this time, and obviously like the actors are older and they sound older and they look older and all this sort of stuff, but they felt like their characters just older. Like they really did nail it, and to me that added to. It's not the arbitrary stuff like the logo of the movie being yellow rather than blue and all that sort of crap. It's more like there's an aesthetic to the actual film, the way it plays out, that really taps into that. And Jurassic World, and I've said it before, and Fallen Kingdom felt like old movies to me. They felt like they were part of the Jurassic series, but without those main characters and stuff on screen, there is that element of those older films that is missing, and now it's back and in this film, and I think they did just nail it. Like they just get it, and it was just so nice to have that, and it really does feel like the end of an era, and I can finally just go to sleep.
unless the final edit gets hacked to shit.
Yeah, Grant's not in the movie at all.
it was a weird feeling, like when the credits rolled and that, and you're just sitting there, just like, oh, that's it.
What do I do now?
Well, yeah,
our Jurassic saga is over.
Yeah, well, it's like this. It's like I'm a huge Alien fan, right? And Covenant had such a cliffhanger ending, and now Disney owns Fox, and there's no inkling that they're actually going to do a follow up to that movie. So I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake! Like this storyline, there's like all the way from 1979 to now. They're like leading up to it, and it's like kind of we don't know what's happening. It's like it's nice to actually see Dominion and go, right, they fucking ended it. Like they ended it.
It's gone to completion.
God, yes, it's like after all these years, ever since I was a kid, they finally we can put a cap in it. Even if they make more and stuff, it's like okay, it's like with the Marvel movies for me personally. Like I don't care about what they do now. It doesn't bother me. Like Endgame was where it ended, and I'm like, okay, that's the ending. I'm not really fussed by the new stuff. Like with the new Godzilla films, like I really liked what they did with those 4 movies, and Godzilla versus Kong was the last one in those 4 movies. And obviously they did their whole marketing of like continue the MonsterVerse and stuff. And so if they make more, of course I'll watch them. But in my head I'm like, no, that felt like an ending. Dominion, out of all these examples that I'm giving, really feels like an ending. Like the way the music swells at the end, and we end on the dinosaurs all living in our world, and end on the sunset thing with the Sinoceratops and elephants or whatever it was. Like and the music, as you said, when the credits roll, I felt like this is the end. This is it. I can finally, as I said, go to sleep and never wake up.
You had a coffin ready at your house.
They just wheel you straight into it as you wave your goodbyes. That's that.
My job is done, guys. Bye.
Well, I'm in the coffin, say to your missus, now me and I'm done.
Yes, that. Now me and I'm done. Just lower me in the ground.
Good show.
But it felt refreshing, though. It was like, oh, thank God. Like, they've managed to do it.
A film series that actually has an ending, an ending.
Yeah, because I think the reason for this, why I felt this so heavily with this movie, is the fact that like it was only 6 years ago that Jurassic World came out, right? And then before that was 14 years of nothing. And in that 14 years, I feel like a lot of Jurassic Park fans, and I don't know if out of us three, if I'm speaking just for myself here, but like I feel like we were scarred by like the fact that, oh God, Jurassic Park 3 is where it's going to end, isn't it? Especially in like 2008 when Michael Crichton died and Stan Winston died in the same year, and Kathleen Kennedy goes out and makes this public announcement like, yeah, we're not going to touch the Jurassic franchise anymore. We're just going to leave it there. You're like, okay, you've left it on that as the ending. And it's
what
like,
glorious
end. What a letdown. And then to finally be in 2021 or 2022 when you're listening to this, and have this as the ending, it's like so much more satisfying. So much more. It's like it feels like it makes up for it by like a lot.
I think like between because it's nice to go out on this feeling, because 2001 to sort of, when did the digital re-release come out? 2011, wasn't it? Yeah. Basically that 10-year period for me, I didn't hate Jurassic Park. I was just, it was like my favourite movie in the Lost World and that, but that was it, know. And it was only that digital re-release which reignited it for me. But, Jurassic Park 3 basically ruined it for me. I was just like, oh, this sucks.
And it was just sort of like there was things in there I liked, but I was like, this is such a crap ending. Like if it's going to be a trilogy, then it's like you're not. But then,
but this is although things could change, and we've still got 9 months and that, but this is a nice feeling, having the memory of the film and the thought of the film in our heads without listening to everyone under the sun's opinions, everyone under the sun's negatives, nitpicking. Although we've done a fair bit of nitpicking, but that's because
we've all got our own opinions and stuff.
Yeah, we watched an early cut and was asked to nitpick. So
it feels like a bit personal, doesn't it?
Yeah. We've got 9 months to embrace it, and then the beast will be released.
And then we'll just be like, oh my God, guys, move on when they start complaining. That was so 9 months ago.
Yeah, we're talking Bill and Ted 4 right now. What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fucking
the Bill and Ted cast.
A year is a long time to wait. to watch it a second time, and I'm sure we'll probably do something
Hey,
when that comes out.
I did put the bug in Colin's ear. I said, if you have another cut that you want everyone to see, like by all means invite us back. Like it's like because we are desperate to see it again. And he laughed, and I was like, but it is that it feels so nice to have this as where we can like jump ship and be like, okay, Jurassic's done. Like you've got 6 films. They tell a story. Out of all the big franchises out there, it's pretty coherent. There's not much really to that's missing to understand what's going on. And
5 great films out of 6 is not a bad run.
Exactly, and even the bad one, the pebble in the shoe is still better than some other movies out there. Like it's still got something. Yeah.
Over the years, I mean, I absolutely fucking hated it, but over the years.
Yeah,
I still do.
I always have a love-hate relationship with Jurassic Park 3 just because I was 12 when I saw it. So like I have that kid in me like, oh yeah, this is great. And then there was the first film I stepped out of the cinema and I was disappointed and I was like, oh, fuck.
I was 16, so I was just like, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, the point is like it's nice to have this as like the ending. And if they continue on, fair enough. You know, probably we will watch them and stuff, but they'll have to, for me personally, in like my own quote unquote head canon, they have to do something really impressive after this to make me go, okay, I want the story to continue in my head. It's like I'm worried that we're going to get the Alien Resurrection after Alien 3 is what I'm saying. And it's like I don't want them to continue it on just to have like a cloned Ripley 200 years later. Like that feels like a completely different movie series. It's like I after an ending that ended so well. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, if I jump ship here, I have a nice 6-film saga that I can enjoy, and yeah, they can continue on if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there it is.
Also, Grant sounded super old. Like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, he sounded like an old rusty door hinge.
Yeah. I just like how he's always been cantankerous, but he was just extra cantankerous in this one.
Yeah.
I need a piss. So
on that note, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And
we'll probably release another one of our second viewing, or the release a viewings and have a completely different opinion. Oh, that sucks. This new edit sucks.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you I never liked this film?
Yeah. Release the assembly cut. But we'll have to do that. And if everything works out, I'm kind of hoping we can do it in person. Be actually nice to have a sit down and a beer and like what we did after the showing, Sam, but like actually record it and be like, right, okay. It doesn't have to be 2 hours long like this, but just our like update thoughts on it. And who knows what we'd have done in the meantime, so
I just remembered something that you guys told me when we met up to watch it about the about the funeral.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh god! You're gonna have to explain that.
I died laughing. Oh my god!
You have to explain that now. So before we saw the screening, we were like, "Are we seeing the movie or are we seeing?"
It was very secretive, wasn't it?
Very secretive. And then Sam, you said that like we go in there and. Who was it? Who was in the casket? Like in
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill was it? Colin comes out because we're paying our respects to the guy who played Alan Grant. It's like we're there for a funeral. Oh my god!
That's so lonely. Into the ground of the John Barry Theatre.
It's just like super depressing. It's like. Everyone's there, like Laura Dern.
You got your I Heart Jurassic Park t-shirt on while everyone else is in like suits.
Laura Dern's got like a black veil over her face and like everyone's crying.
We will be close.
Like fuck the Spino or something.
No, it wasn't Sam Neill. It was like Harvey Jason or someone. It was someone really obscure, wasn't it? That you said.
I can't remember. It's fucking. I do know we said something about fucking Sam.
Or Trevor, or no, Taylor Nichols or someone like that. We're saying like I don't know. Anyway, point is, it was depressing funeral.
We can barely remember the film, let alone the fucking comment that we said before.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So thanks for watching this video, guys, and that's a bye from me.
Laters.
And a goodbye from you.